This call is now being recorded.
Right. So we were at TinyUrl, and we're gonna take it from the very start, of course. But good thing is we have the requirements jotted down right now. We discussed them, so we already know that these were the requirements. We picked like 4 out of these. Some were out of scope. Maybe if time is there, I do want to discuss analytics with you a little bit so that we get at least a little bit familiar with it, so that we can use it in coming questions. But long URL, definitely we'll want to cover uniqueness of it, short URL to redirection, TTL maybe also, but that's what essentially you want to cover. First three for sure. Rest is all like time dependent. But we can, I think we're good enough once you get the picture of it, you'll be good enough to do it yourself. We were discussing the non-functional part. That is where I started asking you questions, and I saw some good replies, but I didn't see enough replies. So, but the people who responded good, very nice, good enough, Harshini, good enough, explanation. The other guy, Akshat, good enough explanation for yours. Even though they have different opinions, right? Akshat was favoring consistency, Harshini was favoring availability, correct? But good, doesn't matter. So you have some opinion and you have good backing of it. That's what matters. That's a good thing. Right through, right around, we'll discuss today, and this is okay. But yeah, okay. So we are here. We were discussing the cap theorem kind of thing.
I want to ask one quick thing. Like, is there something called as cache aside or something? Like,
Cache
as like
aside.
cache aside. Like, basically, what it does is I was reading through about the cache today, and it just mentioned that, like, let's say the application server hits the cache first, it tries to retrieve from the cache. If not, then it falls back to DB, and then once it gets there, it updates the cache basically. And this method was called as cache aside. I don't know. So just wanted to ask.
Very similar to what you would do in a no. So DB updates the cache, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So well, okay. I mean, I don't know if there's another term to like cache aside like this for this, but we have discussed this. This would be basically right around, correct? So you basically go to the DB first, and DB will be the one. Yeah, right around, right?
Either DB could do that, or application server could also send to the cache.
Yeah, whoever. Yeah, yeah. But idea being that you hit DB first.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
store it in DB first, and DB is the like you don't store it in cache first, is the idea. I do not know cache aside. I don't know about the term. But okay. But essentially it's right around is what we're
That's
talking
good.
about. Yes. What I understand. Right. Okay. So sorry. So we were at the cap theorem. Okay. I'm reiterating this point because it is important kind of. So we were choosing between two things, and people can have their different opinions. I also have an opinion, and I also tell you what TinyUrl and what other websites generally do. So you can say it is the correct opinion or not. It's up to you, but that's what is followed, and that's what is kind of recommended. Think about it in this terms. Okay. So we're choosing between availability and consistency. Firstly, we understand what this means. The idea is that I, as a user, has sent a conversion of a long URL to short URL, and basically I expect it to be done. I of course expect it to be done quickly, and how quickly? That's as quickly as possible, right? From my perspective. Of course, it cannot be. That will be a very very shitty experience if I have to wait, let's say, a second for it or 2 seconds for it. It has to be quick. First, as from my perspective, right? Now, yes. So we're debating between this. Is this less shitty over? I get a quick reply, yes, but I send it to some other guy. Hey, this is the URL to use, and some other guy, when she gives it to the system, she gets a 404 error, right? Because the DBs were not in sync, it was not consistent. So we're choosing between these two. The less shitty option generally is, so we are going to prefer availability here. Reason, I'm telling you the reason here now, right? So reason is simple. Generally, system 1 second for a system is too long. What that means is DBs, like, do you understand how quick now network has become, right? So DBs get in sync pretty quickly. Most of the times it'll be like max second, right? It'll, because in when we talk in computer terms, we are talking about milliseconds. We don't, second is too big of a term to even talk about, right? So things travel pretty fast. DBs are getting synced pretty fast, but there might be still a possibility. I'm not saying it's 100%, but there might still be a possibility that within even a second, there might be some DB out there which is not in sync. Complete possibility, but still a second is a big amount of time. So the idea is, from the TinyUrl's perspective now, it's the idea is that, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the user this is the URL. Any, like, very quickly, not even like syncing, I'm going to do later as in on the background, it's happening, but I'm going to tell the user very instantly. Reason is it's instant for the user, like from users. Second is considerable amount, like second, I would take a second to give that URL to people. Think of it in those terms. Like, it'll be very hard for me to get that URL to other people and other people clicking on it and make that request going to the DB. That amount of time itself will take a second. That's the basic idea they rely on, right? So most of the systems, should not say, okay, but scrap the most, but TinyURL system at least relies on this fact that my DBs can get synced in the background. I will aim for eventual consistency, but the user experience should not suffer. That 404 error, you, if you try enough times, it can happen, right? If, let's say, you are sitting in USA and some other guy is sitting in India, and you basically try like very quickly, might happen. You might end up in that situation where for once this other user in sitting in India might get once only, because once she gets a 404 error, next time for sure it will be okay because DBs would have synced by that time, because definitely it's over 1-2 seconds now, right? Once it might happen that you get a 404 error, but that's considered okay. Now, whether it's okay for you, whether you as a system designer is fine with it, is kind of a decision that you have to make for yourself. But generally, this is what is considered okay. That that my system should be available, like TinyURL website should be available, like I should be available to generate more short links. I as a system, TinyURL system should be available to generate more. You like it should be able to take in more requests. That should not be delayed. That should be ready always. That's what availability is, right? So we prefer that, and we say we will achieve eventual consistency. This is what has been followed also in TinyURL. That's what the norm is. Now, the person who said consistency, strong consistency, good points. I'm not saying it's a bad point. Yes, you can argue the other way as well. Like, hey, I am giving, somebody just generated a URL and she gave it to someone and someone was not able to access it. Yes, agreed. But that's rarer scenario, because as I said, like, it might even take a second for me if I have generated a URL to distribute to the other guy, and the other guy pressing it and getting to the URL website, TinyURL website. This process definitely ideally should take a second, more than a second, right? And a second is too big of a time in terms of a system. DB's sync up happens very quickly. Really think of it like we are talking in real time almost, right? So network speed, and we are all geographically distributed. Network speeds are really fast today, and especially with like core internet, what is when we talk about core internet, it's really fast. We're talking about milliseconds here. So a second is a good enough time. So this is what we do. So we prefer here availability for this very reasoning. This is my opinion. You can counter it, and you can go with something else in the interview also. I do not mind that, but then you have to design your thing in that way only, right? That is the whole idea. Like follow that, back it up every way, all the way. You will you will not fail for this. You'll ideally the interview should not fail you because you have an opinion and you are backing it up. But like think of it like from the next questions at least think of it like this, right? If it is taking a second, how to say, if it is not too long of a time for DB sync up, which is not really, it does not take. If if that is not, if you're okay with the user having this bad of an experience that maybe once a time a 404 error will happen for someone. If you're okay with this, if this sounds more okay to you, go with availability here. That's the idea. And we'll discuss more questions and you every question we'll discuss this. Availability versus consistency. This is the whole point. The more we do, the more you will get a feel for it. The more we all will get in sync. That is the idea. But it'll take some time. Initially, definitely 100%. I also had different opinions, and now kind of I'm in sync with the world. I put it this way. Um, so here, my opinion is availability over consistency. Partitioning we have to do. So as per CAP theorem, two things can be done. So I am choosing availability and partitioning. I am aiming for eventual consistency. Remember this. It's not like I've given up on consistency. Consistency is there. It's just delayed a little bit. That's the whole idea, right? It's asynchronous, right? Clear? But very good opinions. But I want more people to speak. There are 23 people right now in the call. I want more opinions because I read everything, right? So it's not like it's just giving waste. I see it and I understand where people are. So the way I read it, I liked it actually, like because it felt that people are understanding what I'm trying to convey. So it's good. Okay. Cap theorem done. We already were convinced about read greater than writes, right? Right. We were convinced about it. What else non-functional is there? Sorry, I had something written down. What else I want to discuss? Latency. One second, Vishal. So latency. We know. Uh, okay. Latency. We care about this. We know that we care about the latency for sure, like read latency, and so more we care about is that it should be quick enough. Even the write, that's what like write as in like as soon as I asked for it, it should come to me. Like the more kind of links with the availability aspect of it, like system is available always. That means the system has replied quickly to me, and the latency is less, right? That kind of thing. So we discussed all of these things. Scalability, right? We of course this all will be backed up by our design, by the way. Like so cap theorem, this when we design it, when we design the high level or the low level thing, this should be backed up. Like every non-functional requirement should be covered in there. Like scalability, how will we cover it? How do we make our system scalable? By replication, by sharding, by things like that, right? So all of that should be covered. Like you should map it basically. That hey, have I covered the if I said availability, have I covered availability over in my high design or low level design or not, right? If I covered read greater than right, have I done something about it or not, right? Okay. Somebody also said hash based, by the way. The reason why they said hash based was because they said there are no range queries. Correct, right? But that is not the only reason we choose hash based on. Because hash based is RAM, so you should also consider what is the size of the of the URLs that you are storing. Basically, if you are storing a lot of URLs, then RAM becomes very expensive, and that's why hash-based DBs just go out of the picture. That's also one thing you should consider, which was not considered in the chat somebody did. Make sense? Like you have to also consider that as a point because that's a very, very big point. Budgeting is a very important point, right? As a system designer, we have to consider it. Okay, so we note this down like this, right? Functional and non-functional. We do this. This is our first step, right? Non-functional requirements, functional requirements covered. Now, there are two things. You can do it them in any order. There is API and there is Questy estimations. Let's do the API first because easier, I guess.
Sorry,
Sorry, Vishal, you had a question. My bad.
I want to discuss on choosing the database, B tree, B plus trees, or
So like, give me some time in this.
sure.
It's after this.
Okay.
Generally,
I thought that's why I was.
we can choose a database now also if you
No,
want.
I just thought you said a point about reads greater than write. That's why I was just saying.
Yeah, So we choose a database based on all of this, based on what we have said so far.
Okay, okay, yeah. Fine.
Agreed. But database choosing also depends on the, as I said, like the structure of the thing. So now we are deciding on the API. So we are kind of deciding on how we are storing the data
Yeah, yeah,
also,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I want to get to it, right? Okay. So APIs, let's do APIs first. APIs is basically how you will connect with the application server. What method will you use for querying, or what arguments will you pass? That's the main idea, right? So there are four, I think you can read about it on your own, but there are four HTTP methods: post, get, people might know about it, put, delete, I think, right? These are the four HTTP methods, or like REST APIs that you want to use. So basically, if you are putting out a request, then it's a post, right? Like you're saying, hey, shorten the URL for me. So basically you write it like this, right? So post, there's no need for the exact semantics of like there is an exact format, of course, but in an interview you don't really need an exact format. But if you practice that way, it's okay. Like you can, it's good to practice that way, but it's not necessary, is what my point is. Interview will not be like, hey, you have not written the exact format, but the arguments that you pass, that is what matters, right? The argument that you pass and the answer that you get. So that's what matters essentially, right? So like a post would have like the slash URL. I'm just making it up. So you have what all? So you have a long URL, right? So you pass in basically this, right? So these are the parameters that you pass in. So you have a long URL, right? Something, I don't know, something long URL, facebook.com, whatever long URL you want to convert. This is that long URL. Facebook.com slash something, long URL, right? This is what you pass in. What else are you going to pass in? So again, how do we decide it? Think of what we have, what we said in the functional requirements. This corresponds to the functional requirements that we discussed above, right? So what were our functional requirements? We said long URL to short URL. Uniqueness is not decided by us, like it is decided by the system. Short URL to long URL is a separate thing. TTL, maybe, right? Maybe I gave the TTL. It depends on how it is implemented. Now, this is up to you, how you want to decide it, right? Maybe system decides, hey, this was entered at this time, so I am gonna do it myself. System will do it yourself, or you allow this option to the user. Up to you. How do you want to do it? Up to you, right? So either you take it in as a parameter, you can for sure. Something TTL, whatever, right? Like it's optional now, right? It's you're giving that option to the user, right? You can make it. What else is there? Somebody says custom URL, right? So now custom URL is definitely user's choice, right? I want it this way. So custom URL definitely comes here. I need to increase my this. Okay. So custom. People are getting what I'm saying, right? It's simple enough. So that's why I'm moving like little fast, because APIs are kind of like it's a good thing. Like it's necessary to make these arguments correct, but it's simple enough. So that's why I'm moving fast. That's the idea. So this is what you pass in. This is what you get. All right. So you need to write both the things, right? So what do you get? You get a short URL. And the short URL, the tinyurl.com slash something, right? ABC, whatever, right? This is how it'll look like.
So instead of like, I'm just asking, like instead of the JSON body, can it be just query parameters, because you don't have
You
to
can,
deserialize?
you can do whatever you want. Like as in, so you in an interview setting, right? That's what you're asking, right? In an interview setting, you don't need to write it this way. If it takes too much time, just quickly write like.
I mean, like designing from a system point of view as well,
Uh,
taking in as a query parameter, so you don't have to do like serializing and deserializing.
so this is, why is this not a query
Like,
parameter?
because
Sorry.
yours is a JSON object, right? So I would have to serialize or deserialize,
Uh,
like parse the object and then get the
uh,
values out and so on and so
uh,
forth.
uh.
So like, I'm just asking, like, is that okay, or should we just use query parameter or something like that? I'm just curious.
This how so
They're not
it's
different
pick
basically.
one, right? Like it depends. So if it's just one thing, then you can use it as a query pyramid. But this is like tons and tons of things, right?
Okay.
I would
Okay.
definitely prefer this over that.
Okay.
Probably.
Just wanted to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, preferably this for sure, right? Uh, yeah. We've done the post. There's a get also, right? Sorry, I forgot. There's a get also, of course, right? The short URL to long URL, right? So that thing. So get also you need to write, right? Pass in the short, and then what do you get, right? In TinyUrl, it's interesting because what you get really is a redirect code to a long URL. So it's a HTTP. You don't need these now. This detail. People think that, oh, do I have to remember this? Like it's a 302 code basically that you get back. 302 code is basically a redirect code, but you don't need know this detail. Okay. If you don't say this, that doesn't mean the interview will judge you on it. Interview will judge you if you don't write the get request. That's the idea, right? So get request, you need to write for sure. Like you need to explain it like, hey, get will have the short URL thing, and I will essentially it'll if you don't know how the internal things operates, that's okay. That nobody cares about it, right? Nobody cares about that level of detail. Makes sense? Just want to be out because this will happen in a lot of questions where I'll say, hey, now use this 302 code. I didn't even know this before doing the question, right? Like TinyUrl question. I didn't know that it was a 302 code. Who remembers this? But
Mhm.
302 code is the HTTP code, like basically which says that redirect to this long URL. That's how it's happening. And it does a bunch of things. It basically goes to the browser even caches it in its own, and it's tons of things. But you don't need to know the internal details. This is all crap, right? There's no point. System design is not about this, like knowing this level of details. It's more about like okay, post and get parallel, like this thing should be there, right? You know what APIs will be used. You are writing the correct arguments to pass. You're writing the correct, at least you know what the arguments would be, what you know what the response would be, what do you expect out of it, right? So I think these are the only two, right? This is the only interaction that we have, right? Right. Yeah, analytics, when we do, it's like it's on the back end, right? We don't initiate the thing, right? So it's not, even if we do it. Authentication, this we didn't cover. This we're not covering. It's out of scope for us. That's why I'm not going over there. But for the requirements that we had, this is it. Okay, sounds good. Simple enough. API simple enough, right? But do read these four: post, get, put, delete, right? Just read them, right? Just what they are, HTTP methods, so that you can easily write. And if you can read the structure a little bit, so you can, even if you're not perfect with the syntax, you're at least the interview will know that you're familiar with the syntax, right? That's all I care about. Okay. API
Do,
part simple.
yeah, do we need to provide an ability to change the URL at a later point of time? Once created, if they're not satisfied with the alias or some
So
kind of
we
support.
again, it will be a separate requirement then.
Right.
Then you're adding on to your requirements. I would restricted to 3 or 4. You can 100%. So you can do whatever you want. That's what. So remove the TTL and add this one. I don't know, but don't overdo it. That's what I'm saying, because you'll quickly realize how 40 minutes go. It's
Got
very
it.
less time, right? Covering more requirements should not be your job. The requirements that you take, covering them fully, that is your job. Trust me. Like, do not go for 4 or 5 requirements. You will not be able to cover it in all of the questions that I do. There's one thing that I realized, like after doing so many questions, only have 40 minutes. Whenever I took more than something requirement, figured out, hey, I need more stuff. So don't do it. Just don't do it. 40 minutes is not enough for 4 or 5 requirements. 3, 4, max 4. Honestly, max should be 4. If you go above 4, it's gone. If you're and that too, I'm saying when you are good at it, like when you've done enough questions, max 4, right? Because there are tons of things to discuss, as you can see, right? Right now, we are done. We have to do functional, non-functional, then API. Now you're going to capacity estimates. We have still not come up to the design. All of these steps have to be done for every question, right? So
Got it.
there's a lot of things to do, but you can do whatever you want, right? Like
Sure.
as in, like you can take whichever requirements you want to do, but except the main ones. Main ones are there. Then choose something. You can choose permissions. You can choose the one you say. Right?
Got it.
Okay. Capacity estimations. This is another thing which people. So, okay, I'll say this in a different way. Okay, capacity estimates is a big black hole. You can go as much deep as you want in it, and you can be And sometimes the interviewer might just even skip it because some people get so lost in it and like figuring out, hey, how many would it be? Like right now, if I ask, how many do you think URLs, TinyURL supports? You'll have no idea, honestly, and you will come up with some figure which might be very off. First idea is it should not be off by like like uh like 100 like 2 zeros. You know what I mean? If it's off by, let's say you say a billion URLs. Don't. I'm assuming you're not going to say 10,000 URLs, right? That's correct, right? The best guess you would say is either 100 million. You would say maybe a billion. That's what you would guess, right? And that's a good guess, right? It's a guess that we are doing, right? But it has to be a good guess. It has to be less shit again. Don't say 10,000 because no, come on, right? It's a URL website, 10,000 URLs too less, right? So, or don't say 100 trillion, something like that, right? That's a too big of a guess, right? So be reasonable in it. That's the idea. You don't have to guess perfectly. Like if I ask you today how many Facebook users there are, any guesses?
3
Just give me
billion.
one guess. Huh?
3 billion.
3 million? You're off. Billion. Oh yeah, right. Exactly. Right. So if you're saying anything billion, I am happy. Makes sense? Right? There's definitely billion people in the world, right? So, and billion people will be using Facebook, right? Makes sense, right? So that's what I'm asking, right? That's the only ask. So my point is don't overdo and don't go into the black hole of, oh, let me figure out in some way how many there are. Take a number, take it quick. You don't have time, right? I keep stressing on time because you will realize it, right? So take some number, all right? Some number. You can even take I'm fine with even trillion. I'm fine with billions or something like that. But don't say 10,000. Don't say like, I don't know, gazillion or something. Don't say something in the middle. Just choose that, right? So what, so basically capacity estimates, there are two things, right? That we have to figure out. First is how many requests we are going to get. Second is how much data we want to store. And this will be this you have to figure out yourself. So this is kind of intuitive and you will get a hang of it once you start doing enough questions. So what do I store? That is always the question. How many requests can I make? And there can be more things also, but these are the most two important things. If you think from the perspective, again, think you using TinyURL, requests are going on, data I am storing over there. That's the most important kind of thing, right? And again, we don't have to be exact with the capacity estimates. It's a guess. It's a guesstimate, right? Be good with it, but not great with it. That's the idea. So have something ready quickly. So till now, you should not have spent more than, no, I don't want to say 10 minutes, even 8 minutes, right? So functional, non-functional, max with discussion, 4 or 5 minutes max, right? Then APIs, again, very quickly, 2 3 minutes cover it, right? Don't spend too much time. Capacity estimates, 2 3 minutes cover it, right? So by the 10 minutes mark, you should have this much done. 10, I don't know, about maybe 12. That's the max I would say, right? Just finish it quickly, right? With capacity estimates. Let's take a guess. Yeah? So maybe a trillion, I don't care, right? Trillion is fine still, but maybe a billion are also fine. I don't know how many. So let's say, because we can quickly estimate, right? Like maybe how many people are using it? Maybe billion people are using it, and maybe each person, not every person generates it, right? Half of, like not even half. Like we know the writes are less. This is where that knowledge comes in also. Let's say, I don't know, 20-30% people generate URLs. There's just the readers of it. There's just the users of it. How many do you want to be stored? That's the question. Simple question. And then multiply it by how much data is associated with that URL. That's your final data. That's your final bytes data, right? That's all. That's all you need to do, right? Just quickly figure it out. So take some figure. So we are not right now. There'll be capacity estimations where it's some questions where I'll go too much in detail. Here in this question, TinyURL, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense only to have these two figures. How many requests? How much data to store? That's all, right? So just taking a figure, 1 trillion, let's say. This is an extreme figure. I don't think TinyURL supports 1 trillion, to be honest. And that's what my opinion is, but maybe, right? URLs I'm talking about, right? By the way, these are short URLs, just being clear, right? Like there's a long URL thing as well, but like, it's a short URL. So you need that as well, right? Multiply by how many bytes? how much of data is there. So we have all of this, right? We know we go back to our, that's why I keep going back. I see my functional requirements. I have custom URL, I have TTL, let's say I have this, right? Then all of this data, maybe, I don't know, KB or something, right? In total, max, this is max, right? This cannot be, I believe it cannot be more than this. KB per URL, right? So multiply this petabyte, maybe that's all you need, right? That's all you need, right? So this is done. How many now clicks are happening? How many requests are going on? That's also a question, right? Because there are read clicks happening. There are, right? That's also another thing that you want to. So and uh, yeah, and there will be some URL which will be getting, which is very popular, which will be getting millions of clicks. Just throwing it out loud, like that's also the case. But that's also a thing, right? So how many do you want? Some figure, maybe millions. I don't know, millions of clicks, millions of requests coming in. That's what my guess would be. But make up a case. Don't say like again hundreds is too less, thousands is too less. I would say something in the middle of million. I would say that's what I would say, right? All over the world, millions of requests are coming in. That's all you want to do right now. And you definitely, again, we are mentioning again, we want reads greater than writes. We want to optimize on that, right? Reads greater than writes. This is all. So that's a good starting point for capacity estimations. This is the point where you should ask the interviewer, do you want to go in, do you want me to go in more detail in the capacity estimations? If she says so, then because then she generally he she will say no. Generally, like 99% of the time, I would say. 1% of the time, maybe she's a maths guy or wants to explore something more, then may ask, go more deep. Then you have to like figure out, and then he will, like interviewer will give you hints on what basically she wants, right? Like I want you to calculate for this and some figures he'll throw out, and then you have to calculate on that. But let's for now, for this question, at least let's end it here. The capacity estimates is this, and people make this big mistake of not using this capacity estimate, but use this. How do we use this now? What is the point of it? Like I have seen a lot of people just make drawing this thing and then forgetting about it. What is the point of this? Why did we do capacity estimations? The reason twofold, right? There are two questions that we answered. How much data do we store? This helps us in deciding the DB itself. This helps us in deciding the sharding. This helps us in deciding, do we need sharding or not, right? If there is less data, we can even go with hash based. You see how it changes, right? Because there are no range queries. If there was less data, I would even go with hash based one. No problem. Petabyte now I know is too much of data. That's where you draw the line. Like if it's gigabytes, RAM, go for RAM. Why not? Hash based. Done. There's no point in if and there's no range queries, right? Go for hash based best solution ever, right? Less data I have, no range queries, great, right? This is how we use this data. A lot of people don't even use this. So use this in the interview. You have calculated this for a reason, right? That this is the reason. Choosing a database. How many requests? If I know how many requests there are, then I know how do I have to do sharding on application server as well, because my application server can get overloaded. You see what I mean? Right? So use this, right? When you are drawing your design, show that, hey, because I know that, hey, there are millions and millions of requests coming in. I need to sharding. Remember the concept? It's a concept, right? Can be applied anywhere. So I have to, maybe my application server might even get overloaded. I have to segregate it. Like some application server will handle this request from here to here. Some application will request handle from here to here. Somehow I have to divide this because there are millions of requests. One application server cannot handle it. Make sense? Everybody agrees what I'm trying to say? Okay, great. So use this. I've barely seen anyone use it. Okay. Capacity estimations done. All right. Now is the point where you choose the, okay, we can choose the DB now. Or you can do it before also. There's no strict, but I choose generally do it here for the reason because capacity estimations also help me, right? That's why. That's the main reason I follow this. If you, in your head, you have already figured it out, okay, but I follow this. There's no hard and strict rule, but this is what I do, right? Choose the DB. All right. this is interesting. Spend some time on this. This is where you want to impress your interviewer. Take 2-3 minutes, easy 2-3 minutes. Explain your reasoning like you've done on the chat group, right? So multiple points. I cap theorem, say it again and say that, hey, I choose availability. One very important thing that nobody, I think, did anybody discuss single leader thing? I think somebody said single leader, multi leader. I don't know, remember who. Somebody said single leader, or maybe we can discuss now if nobody said this. Somebody said it. Somebody wants to chime in. Why can I do single leader, or can I do multi leader? Sorry, single leader, of course, we can do. Right, there's no problem, right? Because everybody is saying, hey, anyways, we don't prefer rights, so why not single leader? People will have the simple opinion, right? Like, people understand what I'm saying, right? So you'll say, hey, I anyways don't need so much rights. My reads are getting in rights. I don't care about them. So why my single leader is good enough? But my question to you then is, can I do multi leader or can I not? So somebody give me opinion. Now, this is how you should be thinking in an interview. This is how the thought process is, right? Can I do it? Opinions? Anyone? By the way, anything that I'm asking, we have done. It's not like I'm asking something that you would have to like you don't know about. It's like just you have to. That's why I said revise, and you will understand why I'm asking this question. So try to think. Why? Go on, just go on. Anybody who wants to say.
Was there ever a time that we will be using singular at all? The whole purpose is it's a single point of failure, right?
Oh, single leader doesn't really mean okay. Single leader is not like a single point of failure. So
No, but I understand it's not just a point of failure, but I was wondering because we are going with consistency, right?
we're
Sorry,
going with a
we're going with availability, right? Okay, makes sense.
okay. Sorry. So any reasoning on anybody has any opinion on why multi-leader is a bad idea here, or see if it is a good idea, why not use it? Right. My point.
Yeah. So I want to go.
Huh.
Maybe we can use multi-leader since our application we are assuming it's going to be a global application, right? So main issue what someone was saying that hey it might have some conflict issues if we have multiple leaders, but
Who
if
said it, by the way? I don't know who said it. Somebody said it. Okay. Okay. Go on. Huh.
uh, sorry was I
So what is the problem? So is that a problem or not? So you
so
are saying it we can
so
use it.
so I am saying if we keep different leaders for different regions, so the right conflicts won't happen. uh,
Different readers or different writers?
Different leaders.
Leaders. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Different leaders for different regions.
Yes.
Right conflicts won't happen. So you're
Mhm.
saying right conflicts won't happen. That's a good point though. Okay. So the claim is that because there are no right conflicts, I can use multi-leader or leaderless, right?
Yeah.
So idea is this is how you should be thinking. That is correct. Now somebody convince me. Now you convince me that there are no really right conflicts. Convince me this.
Since the amounts of writes are really less, right? Maybe 100 is to 1. Aren't we adding an additional complexity of DB sync or something like that if we go
I
for a
won't
multi?
be here. Sorry, hold on. I want to be in this topic. Firstly, convince me there are no right conflicts.
The
I
in
mean,
the requirements
so
in the
only
requirement.
one user would be creating their own uh,
We are
tiny.
aiming for eventual consistency, right? So
Hold on. Some
there
one
won't
person.
be any
Hold
like
on, guys. Vishal, you speak firstly. You were saying something.
I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, only one person is trying to create a tiny URL for their own.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if multiple people are working on the same link, then right conflict might happen, which I'm just confused.
No, but I mean, hold on. Multiple people are working on the same
Like,
link.
let's for example, like 100 people are working on to create a tiny URL for, let's say, some homepage of a common website.
Huh.
So, how would that happen? Like,
So that is the only way right conflict can happen.
That's
more.
right now.
So you think so what you're saying is, like, if a person is working on some other URL, like if two people are working on different URLs, right conflicts cannot happen. That's what the
Yeah,
claim is.
that's what, because we would have that unique constraint, right? That every tiny URL is being unique, so that right conflict won't happen. But when two people are trying to create a tiny URL for the same link, what happens then? Like,
Okay, forget about same link. I still think the right. Okay, let's discuss
In
this.
the
So I
requirements,
sorry, hold on.
we didn't choose modifying the URL, right? So any long URL that we create, short URL, is a single request. There won't be same thing coming again and again, right? So there is no need to update or
Okay, we are going very. I still feel we are going very off topic. I'll speak. Let me talk about this. Okay, so two people, different people, are trying for different URLs. This guy is saying facebook.com to this DB leader. This guy is saying youtube.com. Something, right? Slash something, right? Of course, right? Slash something, right? Different URLs, right? This DB has the job of doing the hash of it and giving the hash back, right? Something, right? This DB has the job of saying ki bhaiya ki, like, you've given me this, I create the hash of it. Okay, your first claim is like, because the hash now hash is also, like, it can be same, right? It can come out to be same. We can have hash conflicts also here, right? We can have hash conflicts firstly, right? So it's so, and we said eventual consistency, right? Agreed. We promise availability, right? So we are saying that these DBs might not be in sync, right? This DB might not know about that. So let's say I said, this is me, I said facebook.com/ something, and this DB generated ABC hash for it, let's say, right? And store it. This is a tiny URL, right? ABC is a tiny URL. I have created a hash tiny URL for it, and I have told this user, ABC, go for it, because availability. This you said youtube.com/ generated a hash, same hash, can happen, right? Hash conflicts, like, they're not in sync right now, right? Can happen.
no, but why would our hash function create the same hash for two different links?
Hash conflicts can happen, no? Then I have to resolve it somehow. How do I resolve it? By syncing up.
No, but
How
the
do I?
hash function.
So your hash function will be perfect, huh?
Huh?
Cannot be, no? Hash function cannot be always perfect, right?
No, but that's what I'm saying. How it would generate the same thing for? I mean, I'll research something on it, but then let's
No,
continue.
okay. Like, then as per you, why do hash conflicts happen?
The same
What are
key, right?
Okay, think about it. Okay. So it might so happen that there are hash conflicts. That it might so happen. I'm saying in the
Okay,
worst case.
yeah.
This is worst case, of course. This is not like of course every time it will happen. It might not happen, right? And yes, agreed. But your case also is there, which is also like, if two people are working on the same one, then so it is obvious, right? Like ABC will
Yeah.
generate. Like that is obvious, you know. But even my claim is that maybe due to hash conflicts also, we get the same answer, right? We get the same answer. ABC gets returned to this guy. This guy happily distributes ABC to other people. This guy distributes ABC to other people. When DBs go in sync, who wins? That is the question now. Last write wins. This is what we discussed. Maybe that we follow that. Then one of the person is right. Like, one person succeeds, right? Like, if, like, maybe youtube.com succeeds or facebook.com succeeds. I don't know. But whatever succeeds, it's not a great answer, right? It should not be on last right wins, at least here. It should not be based on that. I don't know what it should be based on. That's what the confusion is now. So
We
right, sorry.
we could just reject when if we find a hash has already been stored in our
But
database.
we are preferring availability, na Baba?
Yeah.
Think again. If we were consistent, then it's okay. Then you can, then everything is in sync. Then we will reject. But we have already replied. We've already replied to me and you that, hey, this is okay. You go on. You this now. I have done my job. This is your ABC. Like, this is use this,
Okay.
right? So because of it all started because we chose availability. Because we have chosen availability, now I cannot choose multi-leader leaderless. That is what the point I'm making. If we had not chosen availability, if we had relied on strongly consistent, every DB is in sync, then you're right. Then I'm fine. Then it's okay. Then there'll be only one entry. Then I can guarantee all of this. But because I started with availability, now the problem is DBs are not in sync. Ultimately,
Can we
ABC.
in a cache?
Let me complete this. So ABC will end up either with YouTube or with Facebook. That's up to that's up to the implementation that we do. If we implement last right wins, then whoever last right wins. So even the concepts like I was talking about CRDTs, the conflict resolution methods, right? They can resolve the conflict, but they will resolve a conflict in one way. What I mean is like every DB will be in sync one way. So every DB will either have facebook.com eventually, or it will have youtube.com. That is the guarantee that they give. But they do not, like, there is no semantic guarantee, if you understand what I mean. Like, there is no, like, because even I don't know who should win. Who should win right now? Should facebook.com win, or should sorry, whatever the second website is, that should win? Who wins? I don't know, right? Who wins is the question. So youtube.com or facebook.com, I don't know. So that's the idea. Like, if if even I don't know, how can I let the algorithm know? How can I decide? How can the algorithm decide, right? So we
Can,
have, sorry.
sorry, I was say like, can we resolve it using like client ID or something? Like, can we
Okay, let's say
use
you resolve it via client ID. Which client ID would you prefer? Semantic wise, think.
yeah.
How do you say that this person deserves more than this person? That is what I'm trying to say. Like, those semantics cannot be answered. This is the problem. And that's why in this very thing, you cannot use, this is the case where multi-leader is not possible. Like, it is possible, but you end up with this scenario. And if you're okay with the scenario, then okay, fine. Trade-off is this, basically. That's the idea. So if you're okay with this trade-off, like somebody getting some other URL sometimes, convince the interviewer that you're okay. But I am not okay, at least personally. So I am of the opinion that we cannot use multi-leader or leaderless here. The great point is that we even don't need, because we don't care about the right. That is the greatest point, right? So now it's even more convincing. You understand? So we cared about reads, we cared about right conflicts. So there are right conflicts here. Because of right conflicts, we cannot use multi-leader, right? Multi-leader and leaderless. So we go with single leader. We now are convincing ourselves, see, reads, we need single leader. Just one second, whoever's raised their hand. We need reads, we need single leader. We have convinced so far, we're going towards that, right? Like, we're going towards, so this tells me B plus tree. This tells me, because there are right conflict, single leader, I know, right? Now we come to the structure of it also, right? Right? Structure is pretty, if you look, it's pretty key value pair, right? It's straightforward, right? There is no, so if you understand, NoSQL is generally has, like, if there's structureless stuff, right? There's more things that you want to put in. Like, this can be very well represented in a simple table, right? That is the idea. If you see anything like this, you're more even convinced towards SQL, is my point, right? So you're more going towards SQL now, right now, for now, right? Right. It's sounding like it. Like, we're more convinced, we're more oriented towards SQL. So questions first now. Okay, but we are almost there. So questions. Any questions? Now we can ask. Rahul, sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, I just have one question. So, when what are the parameters that we have to consider in which cases we have to consider multi-leader? Like, it's only when writes are more than reads, or
And
there is
right
something
conflicts are
else.
okay with you also. Right conflict should be okay with right conflicts.
Can we have like
Okay.
different hash functions for different regions?
Vishal, even if you have that, can you guarantee me? Give me a guarantee that it cannot happen, and then I'll. So
yeah,
if
I'm just
you're saying only regions, we can.
no, I'm just trying to fit my answer, like, but somehow, but
But that
maybe just
again,
add some, let's say, EU in first, right? We see AWS EU, that something in front of it,
let me add it. Okay,
prefix
then
or suffix, right?
so you're then 100%. You're telling me 100% there's no right conflict.
I mean that leader wise it won't happen then. That's what I'm thinking.
Why?
Because we are adding a suffix or a prefix up front based on regions, right? Let's say North America or EU or India. Said
Okay. So this other person has to be in separate region only. It cannot be in same region.
that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just.
Like, the thing. So it's okay. Before I understand you want to give inputs, but like you have to firstly convince yourself, right? That if you can convince yourself 100%, then yeah, convince the interviewer. But if you try to convince the interviewer other way around, he's gonna find faults in the thing, no, in the theory. Like region you have shown up. Now, if I say if I am not implementing, if let's say the same person, I mean, I've taken here other person. If I take the same person, even same person can do it. If the DBs are not in sync, same person can mess things up. If my request, because in leaderless, it's not like I'm always going to the same leader. The same person can make this happen. So you have to find faults in your own theory.
Yeah.
That's what every time keep on doing it, right? That's what
Yeah.
it's
I
about,
think
right?
I just want to that this is
Yeah,
how
no, I get it. I get it. I get it. So everybody, we will have our opinions, and we will, and it's okay to, it's okay to, but think like this is what system is. Think deeper, right? Like this can happen, right? This is why it's not possible, like for me to totally avoid it. When it's not possible for me to totally avoid it, and even if I resolve conflict, I don't know who should win. Then this tells me that hey, I should not use multi-leader, right? If there was a case where right conflicts are okay, that means that if I understand that like last right wins, if last right wins is okay for me, right? Then it's okay. Then go with the leader. Then go with the leaderless or multi-leader scenario because then it's okay, right? But here it's not okay. Somebody getting some other URL for the same thing is really a bad experience, right? It can really mess things up, right?
We
Yeah.
have rough estimations of like how, like just in terms of like percentage or anything, hash conflict can happen. Is it like less than zero point 0.5, zero point 0.3? I'm just trying to get, is there a number like which is considered in the industry? Or
So,
it's
no.
just like just consider that okay, hash
It's
conflict.
considered that it can happen, so you should be accountable for it. That's what is
Okay,
normal.
okay,
Because nobody can write a great like
okay.
it is general. Ultimately, you are going to end up in a hash conflict. So there has to be a resolution mechanism for it. That is what is the norm. A number I don't know. But so that's what. So so hash conflicts can have multiple things can go wrong, and that's why we don't want to do this scenario. So multi-leader is out, single leader is in. Right?
Yeah,
Yes, Rashi.
I have
Quickly,
one
please.
quick thing. So,
Uh,
if we consider the points what we discussed right now, right? So
yes.
it is like in most of the cases, I'm telling it is not 100%. In most of the cases, it is wise to choose one leader.
I don't agree, but okay. How
Yeah,
did we
no,
come to
I'm
this
not
conclusion?
saying like 100%. Maybe in majority cases, because if you choose multi-letter, right? There are chances of having data inconsistency as well, right?
But
And
it
we
increases
may
the
lose
right
some data.
speed. But it
Hmm?
increases the right speed, right? We
It
gain
it
also something,
increase
no?
it yeah, it increases the speed at what cost? Increasing the speed is matters, right?
So how can
So
you say major? My point, a simple point is, if you say majority, how do you know this?
so like I'm saying in majority because of based on my experiences, like what I have seen till now, right? So what I've worked on till
Okay.
now. So
But
I'm
we'll do
thinking
questions. We'll do questions where you will realize there are multiple cases where it's okay to have multi-leader scenario.
multi-letter. Okay.
We'll do questions and you will realize it yourself.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So yeah, it's coming on. That's what next. I have 1.5 months now. So
got
yeah,
it.
that's what is coming on, right? I will prove it to you that in what scenarios. Hey, see, I'll discuss all of this. That's what I'm saying. Every question, this is what you need to discuss, and that's where your 40 minutes go. And this is what is important. People don't focus on the important details. They focus on drawing the bars. Not important. This, if you discuss all of this stuff, this is what the curiosity. This is where the interview goes well. Like this is where the interview is like kind of done already, right? Like people understand, hey, you know your concepts, right? And you are able to discuss the trade-offs, right? Trade-offs are what we are discussing, right? So we are giving up on some things, we are gaining on some things. We are giving up the right latency, but we said we didn't care about it, and we said, so don't say we don't care about it. Say that we care less about it, and then use measures to improve light latency in other ways. That's what we are going to do, right? Maybe we
Yep.
improve it by sharding, maybe we improve it by something else. We improve it, but here we say reads are more important, so we give preference to that. That's the basic idea, right? So we rule out our Cassandra, everything here. We need to use a single leader. We say SQL based because this is what I would do in given this question, right? Makes sense?
But SQL is not necessary, right? Why not?
SQL is not necessary.
Right?
Correct.
No
Yeah,
SQL.
yeah, agreed. NoSQL, you can get away with NoSQL also, 100%. No, I am not against it, but NoSQL B plus tree implementation, whatever you choose. But then make some convincing points. Now you will talk about scalability. I know people come up with this argument. Somebody also in the chat said, because of scalability, if this scales, then I need NoSQL. Uh, So that is again, I repeated that question also. Like SQL I chose here because of firstly simple data structure also, like very defined not data, the simple defined rows and columns, right? Simple, we know our data is organized, correct? Like it's very straightforward data. Da, da, da. And then you can convince me, hey, NoSQL is also fine. We can use it. We don't need to do any sort of combinations or anything. Yeah, agreed. You can get away with it. 100%, there'll be no problems. Now it's a preference base, and then people talk about. But again, one thing is that I said it before also, it's not like SQL is not scalable. SQL is also very scalable now. There are means to scale it. So that is where the gray area is. But I personally prefer, this is again my opinion, I personally prefer if it's a simple structure like this, go with SQL, simple enough. Already established long back. It's well tested, well done. Everything is good. I prefer this. I would use a SQL for it. You can get away with NoSQL, 100%. There will be no problems with a B plus P implementation. Yes. Yeah, 100%. I am not against it. I won't cut marks for that. What I would cut marks for is if somebody uses some of this. If somebody says Cassandra, then I would say, hey, we didn't follow the whole thing. Like we didn't follow the logic for it. Then you have to convince me otherwise. Right?
Yep.
Make sense? So NoSQL, which is single leader, and B plus tree implementation. If you say this, I'm all good. I have no issues. Right? I prefer SQL here. It's my preference. You can choose whatever. Okay, this is the time. So after capacity estimations, now is the time you draw something like high level design and you start explaining on the side best. Like what is it that you are gonna do, right? There are multiple ways to solve the problem. One way is, of course, I think everybody agrees kind of, and I already said it also, we already kind of discussed like hash way, right? Just whatever is given to me. Like this is most obviously I think everybody would come up with. I think this is kind of very obvious, right? Somebody gives you something, you have to create a mapping for it, do a hash based thing. Very obvious way, can be done, good solution, not a problem at all. All right, not a problem at all, right? There is other solution. How much time do we have? So let me check. 6:32. Wow. Okay. All right, now, okay, there is one. So I have my own thing, and I also follow Hello Interview. I already told people maybe about this. Hello Interview is a very good website. Once you know these fundas, do follow that. And if you have any questions on that, I follow it religiously. So Hello Interview also solves the TinyUrl thing. And they have another point on this, that you can use counters. Basically, the idea being that, okay, so what is the problem with hash? Let's discuss this. So firstly, they say both are great solutions, and both are really great solutions. No problem in this, right? Both are okay. Hash solution is also okay, which is very simple to implement. You decide your hash function, you somehow encode it, then you need to encode it, by the way. Why do you need to encode it? Encoding gives you like the limit of the characters that you want. Like if you want 6 char, I don't know. This is your limit. How do you decide 6 char now? How do you decide it? So 6 char will give you how many URLs is the question. So you have to generate trillion URLs. So basically you choose the characters based on that, right? Like so 26 per, right? 26 into 26 into 26. I don't know if you're only limiting to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Z, right? If it's A to Z, then every character is 26. So 26 into 26 into 26 into 26 till 6 characters. That's what the combinations are. Maybe you're limiting it to 255, depending on you. You can do whatever you want, right? But make sure that you choose the character length so that it covers your trillion URLs. Again, back to the capacity estimations. People get what I'm saying? Do people get what I'm saying? I said it very fast, but people got it, right? Okay, make sense? Right. So whatever you choose here, again, that's why we go back, right? We keep going back. How to decide? Yes, here, right? I wrote it here. That's why these estimations are necessary, right? Right. So you hash, you encode, you get a character. That's all good. Have a mechanism for hash collision inside it. Like we know hash collision mechanisms. There are 2 mechanisms: linked list way and the keep on the next one, right? I don't remember the names of it, but you know what they are. I hope you've done your DSA. So hash collision, if it happens, if you've not done your DSA, just read about it. Hash collision, there are 2 general ways how to solve it. Just know what they are. It's very useful for DSA and this, right? Hash phase, good, right? So we discussed this with the interview, right? This is one way to solve it, right? Other way that Hello Interview kind of discusses the counter way. Counter way is basically, now hash has this latency issue in it. When I give a URL, hashing will take some time, depending on your hash function. Hash function computation has to be done, right? This makes sense? So always be very critical about your design, right? Like you are creating a hash. So this takes time. And I said latencies, I care about it, right? I understand maybe right latency, I don't care about that much, but still, if I can avoid it, I should avoid it, is the point, right? Like, why am I introducing unnecessary latency, right? So maybe we can do a number generator kind of thing. What I mean by that is, why not have like numbers ready for yours, like free numbers ready for you, and just assign it. Like, this is my set of numbers. This is where maybe have a counter, maybe have an ever increasing counter, let's say, right? Ever increasing counter is like 1, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. I can tell the cons and pros. We can all discuss the pros and cons here. This is where you should be coming up already with pros and cons of both the techniques, because no solution can be perfect. Everything has some trade-offs, and interviewer will judge you on how good your trade-offs are, right? So let's say I generate counters. So what this means is, like, what I know, 1 is free right now because all of these are free. So I am here. My pointer is here, right? So whenever the next URL comes, let's say somebody asks for a short URL, I attach 3 with some, I don't know, like I attach 3 with it, right? Like 3 is my basically short URL. Okay, let's say 3 is my short URL. Then when next request comes, 4 is a short URL. Next request comes, 5 is a short URL. And by the way, single leader, remember, there is no conflict. There's only one write happening, right? The only write is happening only at one place. So it cannot raise to these race conditions or whatever, right? So perfect enough. No hash needed. Very quick, fast, done, right? What is the major con in this? Does somebody have a
What if requests comes at the same time? 2 requests come at the same exact time.
2 requests same? So single leader, right? I have an ever increment counter. So okay, this counter needs to be. You're saying this counter needs to be like logged or something, right?
Yeah, there should be a log or that's it. Kind of.
Oh, great. Yes. That adds a little bit latency. Agreed. Okay, makes sense. 100% agree. That's why even Hello Interview also mentions this. I remember now. So they say you can even use somebody before asked me this Redis memcache difference also, right? So this is kind of, I can speak now about it a little bit. So Redis basically, they use Redis for this. Redis is single threaded. Memcache is not single threaded. So you can run into the problem that you just mentioned. If I, let's say, use my Redis, let's say I use a cache for incrementing this counter, right? Let's say I do this. So because it's single threaded, there is no race condition now. For memcache, because it's multi-threaded, you can run into this problem of 2 requests coming in and I give the same number kind of thing, right? But anyway, this is just a segue that I took. I don't know why, but idea being that you're right. Yes, lock needs to be done. Yes, agreed. Okay, but still faster than what hash generation I feel. So any other con?
Say let's suppose, I mean, the counter should be present at same location. If so let's suppose multi-region counters were there. So
Right? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. So there's only one DB that we are writing to that is responsible for this somehow.
got it.
So we are not distributing. If that was the case, our distribution is like, yeah. Then the other thing, the other bad thing about it is like it's very predictable now. You see what I'm like where I'm going with this? Like hash was unpredictable. This is very predictable. Like somebody who now I know if I'm getting a 6, if I get a 6 TinyUrl, then I know 5 is used, 4 is used, 3 is used. Then I can basically I know that these numbers were kind of used before. Not really a hack, not only I can hack anything, but I just know that, hey, I just know a lot of information about the system. That's one thing that is not considered to be good, kind of, right? So I have to hash would hide it very nicely. Like hash is very distributed, like it's a very unique thing, right? So I guarantee uniqueness here, but I know that if I'm getting a 6, then there was a 5, there was a 4, there was a 3, and I can just go and see what 5 was. Kind of. So in that area. But it sounds funny that this is even a bad thing, but it is. It is kind of like because other people like you do not want to convey this about your system that this is how it operates. But anyway, there's one thing. Other thing is now the numbers like you guaranteed 6 characters to me each time. Now this is variable. Somebody is getting 484. Somebody's getting one. One will be more happier, I guess. I don't know. So things like that. You are doing some weird things here, right? Okay. This is one thing. Then you can even to solve this, you can even have this hello interview doesn't mention, but because you're thinking more, you can have some set of characters already available for you. It'll always be 6, but you keep a cache where you keep Redis cache like where you keep a pool of number of these numbers that are readily available for you to assign. And some in the background, some system is filling this pool up, right? So this pool is what you keep where because we want our idea is to avoid the hash computation. That's what our idea is. That's what we're trying to solve. That's what the main problem with hash was. To solve that, what I've done is I've already kept a pool of readily available short URLs, and I'm just assigning. Good way, great way. I don't know why it's not been discussed, but that's also another way. My point is all of these solutions are fine to discuss or fine to do. Just have your trade-off ready. Is it clear? Firstly, like trade-offs is the main thing that interviewer is looking for. Like, can you figure out quickly enough? Does your mind work like that, right? Like, does your mind say, hey, okay, I can do this, but this has this pro and con, and I can solve it in this way? That's all the interview is about. Make sense? Firstly, everybody, any questions in here? Are all going? Okay.
And there is one thing like if I use this counter, right, there can be unused URLs in future, and which can still takes that count, and I cannot use it for something else.
That's why
Yeah.
it's concept, right? That's why free pool concept comes in. So you can then that's what
Revamp the pool.
that's what I was also thinking. Like what if either take the range big, which can be taken. So many numbers. It's okay. I have 1 trillion. 1 trillion is a small number compared to the number of numbers. It's big, right? So you can do that, or you can reuse them. For reusing, you have to create a pool. So both ways you can do it, whichever way you prefer. I am okay. Even hash is okay. By the way, hash is also okay. Hash is a great solution. I'm not saying I'm not against hash. I'm just saying just be aware of the problems. If the interviewer will definitely ask you, or if even if she doesn't ask you, you have to tell him or her that, hey, this is what I'm doing, but this has a trade-off like this. This is what the pro is, this is what the con is. If you can do that, then your job is good, right? Your job is done, right? All right, let's go further. So just now is the time where you draw a very high level design of it, right? So whatever you choose, let's say you choose hash based. For now, let's keep it simple. You can, this is my AS, right? This is my AS for now. I want to use a cache, but so cache, I'll talk about cache. Basically, this is my next point. Right. So I have a DB which stores the short URLs. This makes sense, right? My cache, what will it store?
Key value pairs. Like
Okay.
basically your
Well,
hash in the short URL.
Sorry, key is what?
Key is your hash.
Great. Okay, short URL. Right.
And value is your
Values.
short URL.
Values your
Oh, sorry. Value is
long
your
URL.
sorry,
long URL. Yeah, perfect. That's what I want to clarify. Okay, so everybody agrees, right? Key is your short URL because that's what I'm reading. Okay. So idea is this is the point where you draw this sort of simple design, right? Where you explain to him that this is my basic high-level design, where client basically is querying the AS. AS firstly goes to the explain both the read and write scenarios. Right? Write is just to deliver. Read is firstly going to the cache and check the cache, and then if it is not found, look up the DB and then return it. Right? Make sense? This all you have to explain. Whatever we just draw simple basic diagram. Okay, I am short on time. Always. Okay. But you can already imagine this is taking 40 minutes, right? Easy 40 minutes. They're gone. Like it's if you start explaining detail in everything, easy 40 minutes. Okay. Because you have to cover cache very well, and I wanted to cover cache. So what I'll do is after drawing all of this, after covering cache, I think what I'll do is I'll share the. So okay, we are gonna use Excalidraw. Get very familiar with this tool and get familiar with Google Docs. These are the two tools that is enough to draw this. These are the only two tools you need. Um, just be familiar with it. Just open it. And I am going to use Excalidraw right now because most of the companies I know are okay with using this tool, right? So this is what I'm going to use to do the system design, even for the mock interviews, right? Okay, what I'll do today is the final diagram, the final low-level design. I'll draw an Excalidraw and share it with you on the channel. This is what I'm going to do for every question, right? But I do want to discuss cache. Very important because this is going to be discussed in every question. So let's go. All right. Somebody, I think Harshini, said very well on the cache. So I'm gonna write through cache to keep it. Okay. So okay, great. No, everybody, I think whoever said cache said the right thing only, right? Cache eviction. But people didn't discuss the cache eviction. People discussed, but didn't discuss a lot of cache. What do you call it? Like write back or write through or write around. Okay, so all the things we need to discuss, right? So let's firstly, we know now what to store in cache, right? We have discussed it here. We know short URL to long URL mapping because that's what we care about. We can use out of box for it. Generally, we use out of box unless there is like a really good need for server local cache. We've already discussed the server local cache concept. So discuss that if you want to in the interview quickly, but right. Definitely, first question is what do you want to store? We know already, but still what? Like which links to store? First question you should think is that. This is how the thought process is. So any opinions? Which links do I want to store? How do I know this?
The ones which are like used a lot. I mean,
That's one answer. All right. Once we are used a lot. So now that you said this, how do you know which are used a lot?
Clicks.
Frequency.
But how do you? But we don't have that as a requirement, right? Then you have to do analytics. Basically, my point was that. Like before you do analytics, you don't know which are used a lot, and that is where analytics come into picture. So if you're saying used a lot, then you have to basically say that, right? Like so I will be doing analytics on the side, which basically will consume, and that's why I think analytics is a good requirement to have most of the time, because you will see this pattern happening a lot where in cache you have to kind of use this the most frequent, we call them hot links or hot clicks or whatever, right? So that is what we need. So that's why we need to do some analytics, and that's why we generally add analytics in our requirements. Okay, but use a lot, great, right? I think perfect answer. I would also use this, right? Like whichever is used a lot. This gives me a hint on what sort of eviction policy and what sort of type of cache do you need. This is the answer for both those questions. So now think, what do we want to discuss first? Okay, discuss the easier part first. Eviction policy, right? Selection policy, which should we use?
Most used, least used.
Anybody has different opinion? Any different opinions? Frequency?
I am with LFU.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other opinions? So there's no right and wrong again. You just have to convince me, right? Least recently used, least frequently used, but don't say most frequently used, right? Just don't be the other on the other side of the spectrum, right? Okay. So anything is fine, depending on how you convince the interviewer. So used a lot, you can convince, right? Like this is not even used, so I can make me use that. But this is the frequency is less because I'm using these analytics. I can use that. Up to you. You just have to convince the interviewer. Choose a point, but don't choose the opposite answer, right? That's what I all care about. Cache types. This is really important. Now let's think. So we have three options: write back, write through, write around. Right? We have three options. Think very carefully on which you would choose and why not other one, because clear advantage of choosing one over the other is there. So we have these three. That's why I asked this as a question, because I wanted you guys to think a lot, because this requires some thinking initially. After a few questions, it'll come very quick. But right now, what is the problem? So first question, what is the problem with write back? No, okay, let's actually go a different way. Okay, let's go. Okay, what's the problem with write back? Let's go this way only. Right? What is the problem with write back? Can I use write back? Remember firstly what write back is, and then try to think, can I use write back?
We don't want to use write back because I think we want the data to be immediately available in Redis or cache, because there are a lot of users that are actually reading
Hold
that.
on. Hold on. So you're saying, what is write back?
So write back is later on, first you write to the DB and then later on you write to the cache.
Are you sure?
Sorry,
That's right around, right?
Yeah, that's right around.
Write back be first DB and then cache.
Yeah,
right.
I think what is it right other way around.
I think you write it to the
The
cache
background
first,
process.
then
Asynchronously, you write to the database, right?
Correct. So it's other way around what you said, Ashini.
oh, got it. Yeah,
Okay. So it's write back is you write like
the
write to
cache.
the cache first, and then it's DB. Right?
Mm.
So now think, okay, let's go back. Why write back is not a good idea or a good idea? Write back is
or the write conflicts.
great answer, dude. I was not expecting this answer. If you can realize this is a great. All right, then. Okay, at least I am okay now. I'm happy now. Okay, so people realize this has the same problem of write conflicts. Now think, and it's a very good point, right? Who said it? Abrar. Okay. So I have, let's say, cache here, and I'm writing directly to cache, right? Somebody is here writing directly to cache. DB sync. Write conflict. People understand this? This is a little, for me at least, it was complex to understand. Maybe not for Abrar, but for me it was. So I write somebody now, like it took me some time to think about it, right? So cache, I write back has this problem, right? It can happen because I've only written to cache. This DB sync happens later. So same problem with the write conflict thing. If there are write conflicts, write back is not the way to go. Make sense? We can speed up our writes. It's a great way to speed up our writes. This is what the whole point was for the cache, right? Like for writing just to cache and going back, because cache is RAM, you just write it quick enough, no DB calls, nothing, go back. Quick enough, I improve the latency. But here I cannot use it. If I could, it would be great, because my write latency was really bad because I was using single leader. I could have promised the interviewer, see, I can use this way and it'll be so good. I can get away with using single leader. but no, I cannot. Make sense? Vishal, can you mute yourself? Sorry. Oh, so okay. So does it make sense, everybody? Good. If it does, somebody who has not understood this, everybody kind of understands what I'm trying to say. That's why we cannot use write back. Otherwise, I would have loved to use write back, right? No, there's another. Okay, there's one major point is this. Okay. There's also a second point, which is also important. Can somebody also say why not write back? One more thing. There's
What if
one
it
more.
crashes?
Sorry, what?
What if the cache crashes?
What if the cache crashes? But then I can have.
It won't write to DB, right? So we lost everything.
Okay, I can have, let's say.
How do you know that particular URL is
Firstly,
most
let
recently
me,
used URL?
Yeah, let me answer Vishal's question. So firstly, we can have backup, right? We can do something like this. We never, okay, I don't draw it often, but we never have a single instance of DB. We never have a single instance of cache. We never have a single instance of application server. We never have even a single instance of load balancer. Every single point of failure needs to be avoided. I don't have this habit, but maybe in the low level design, especially in high level design, you don't draw it like that. But in high level design, you don't draw it like that. But in low level design, you definitely have the multiple instances of it. Maybe you write 2 times, right? Maybe you have a WAL along with it. Whatever. You can solve that problem at least, Vishal. This is my point. But good point. I'm not saying it's a bad point, but it can be solved is the major point. Rajshekar, you saying something?
So if we write into cache, right, how do I know that that particular key is most recently used key? So
thank you. So that is one more point. How do I know what to write in cache? If I store everything in cache, then I've stored it in cache, right? Then when the next one comes, storing it cache, next one comes and storing it in cache. But I said something. I said I will use some policy of used a lot. Like this is again, it comes back to this, right? Same point that we discussed. So this is important, right? I will store whatever is used a lot in cache. I promise this. But what am I doing? I'm just storing everything in cache because firstly the request goes to cache. Makes sense? Does it make sense? Everybody. I know it makes sense to Rashik, but everybody.
Yeah, it does. Yes.
So this is how you need to think. And there's a very good reasoning. So every question come up with it. And it takes some time to like grab it, like fully grab it, right? So it just takes some practice. That's all. Right. But people don't do this in system design interviews. They again and again I'm saying they focus more on designing the dabbas, which is not important. By the time you are at the low level design, you are already either selected or not. That's how it is. Because you've gone through all of this. Make sense? Like low level design is ultimately the final thing that you do. You have already explained every single part of it. You will see that when I draw that's why I said low level design, I'll just share it because there's no point of explaining that low level design. I've already explained every single thing about it already, right? Okay. So first was, sorry, what all we discussed, right? Conflict. Second was like the cache thing, right? I cannot write directly to cache. Cannot write direct. Sorry for the bad handwriting, but you make your own notes, of course. Right, conflict. Right? 2 things preventing. Now, write back. Can I use write back? Not really, right? Write conflicts. Issue. Write through. Can I use write through?
no.
Why not?
Close availability.
No. If we use write through, right? So it's going to be an asynchronous operation between cache and DB, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Go think about it.
it's
What was write through?
Two-phase.
Yeah.
right through cache and then
If it miss, then it will hit DB and then it will store into cache.
No,
So
it's an
hold on.
it's
Somebody-
bidirectional between cache and database, right?
So somebody tell me what is write through first. Just write through. What is the definition of write through? Remember, that's why I said read this thoroughly. Like go back to the videos. What did I say about write through? What is write through?
It's a two-phase commit, right? Like it goes into cache and then it goes into DB at the same time. And if
Like
one of that fails, both will be failed.
Correct.
To maintain
It
consistent.
synchronously connects.
Yeah. These all answers are correct now. Okay. So now say write through. Can we do?
But I think it will have the same issue,
The
right?
second problem that
What issue?
Second, the second thing that
in
we
terms of
discussed.
like
How do
we are
you eviction policy?
Thank you. Okay. So what was the, how do we call it? Cannot directly write. I cannot write to the cache, right? That's the point. Cannot directly write. This is the only option left, which will cause some maybe cache misses initially, but best option for us, kind of, right? Like once we know through analytics that this is what we need to put in, because then only we can put in, right? So initial cache misses are there. So this also has a con. It's not like this is the best solution. Firstly, no, trade-off again, right? Like everything has a trade-off. Right around is bad because any request that initially goes will go to the cache, and cache will have nothing or will not have maybe the, how do you know like this link is going to be important? You don't know that, right? But that's the whole idea why we were not storing it in cache in first place. But it will have some cache misses, of course. But this is kind of the doable option for us, right? This is what we finally conclude. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me just think. Firstly, I have explained. I have, because I do have some notes somewhere. So I do want to make sure that I discuss the right conflict part of it. Okay. Yes.
So which option did you say is the best right now?
Right around.
Okay.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure about this writer on pod based on our analytics, right? So earlier itself, but my reasoning for write through is wrong because the way I understood write through is right. So earlier, based on our earlier discussions, so what I thought is write through is going to be it's a two-way commit to cache and database. So I thought those two operations are independent. Cache and database. I thought these two things are happening asynchronously. So while we are writing into cache and we are writing into database.
There are
So
two. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
we
Firstly,
are saying
let me correct you here itself. So there are
yeah.
two ways to do it. Yes, that's what I said. I said YOLO or two-phase commit. So yes, you can be strict about the two-phase commit. Yes, you can do it, and yes, you can have the synchronous. It's kind of there are approaches to it, but generally, yes, we ideally want to we do the sync one, right? We do
Okay.
want it to be sync, right?
Yeah,
So
I
that's
thought it is asynchronous. That's the reason I thought. It is not a suitable thing to go ahead for our solution.
Okay. But even but again, this point still holds, right? The cannot directly write thing. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, this point still holds, but I'm thinking about my reasoning. The way I'm thinking about my reasoning, I thought it is because like we are writing into cache and we are writing into database. There is no way that we can figure out this is most recently used or not. That's what I thought of.
I mean, that's correct. No, that's
Yeah,
that's
this is
correct.
that's correct actually. So, but
Correct.
when you said this two-phase commit, right? I got confused.
Okay.
So one more point is like I agree with the write around, but with the write back, as long as we have backups for the cache, wouldn't that be another best solution?
Right conflicts?
No, because the exactly. That's what I'm saying. As long as we have the right conflict right now, we are writing to the cache and it is async flush to the DB, asynchronous flush to the DB, right? Here is only the cache crash, right? Like whenever a new sync happens, the crash.
It's not just the cache crash, right? The sync even is bad, right? The sync is last write when, same problem that we discussed, right? This is the flush that you're talking about. This is a DB. These are two people writing different things to the cache. Like same, because cache is what is doing the things, right? Cache thing. Right? You see what I mean?
Okay.
So same problem that we discussed, the last write wins, everything that can happen here. That's what the problem was, right? Conflicts can also happen. Right? Think about it. Okay, just take some time. I know it takes time, 100%. Just think about it. Ask questions on the group. I'm always active there, right? Makes sense. But yeah, go run a scenario and Make sure that you fully understand this last right. Like, how do I resolve the right conflict? That's the question. If you can, go use it. Uh, but firstly, convince yourself that yes, there is a right conflict. Okay. Okay, this is how we discuss the cache. Great. Okay. So now is the point where you discuss sharding and replication kind of. We are 7:03. Okay. Can I take some time? 5-10 more minutes, right? So idea is very simple. Firstly, I said this sharding is a concept, right? Sharding is a concept, can be applied anywhere to application servers, to DBs. So this is one way you can improve your load on the database. You can improve your speeds also, because the load affects the speed. So kind of related. So this is where you convince the interviewer, see, even though I've used single leader, but hey, I will get some good write speed because I'm going to be doing sharding. Very, very important to discuss. Don't miss it in an interview. And whenever you discuss sharding, do mention the word consistent hashing, right? We have discussed already all about it, but just mention it so that the interviewer knows that you know. All right. So sharding is simple. How we basically want to partition. Sharding partition, same. If I use it alternatively, right? So I don't know why I use it like that, but it's the same thing. Sharding partitioning, right? So partitioning. How do we do it? So we want to partition, let's say, our databases. How do we partition it? One simple way. Somebody tell me anything.
A to Z
Range-based parties.
as a
Range-based partition.
Range based, right? So
Sorry,
based on hash based, hash
Hash
range based, right? Like, yeah, the short basically, right? Yeah, that's what we have. So A to something, L to whatever, right? Like whatever, M to Z. Right? So we partition it like that. This means that all of the requests from this will go here. That's all, right? That's basically what it means. Essentially, that's it. Okay, sharding is done, and you can do sharding now on the basis of now, because we said millions of requests. Now we come back to that, right? Like data, we have covered, right? Again, capacity estimations. Requests, that means your application server needs to be sharded, right? So that means your AS can also be sharded, because if so, this AS handles only requests from certain to certain. Now, how do you decide from certain to certain? Up to you. You choose it. Like, how do you decide it, right? Maybe on the basis of, I don't know, somebody said region. I don't know. How do you decide it is like very, very up to you. Like who, load balancer, there should be a configuration on the load balancer that this is what I should forward the request to. This AS server is supposed to handle this request. How you decide it depends. It's like, you can choose from maybe unique IDs or something. I don't know. Up to you. IDs is one thing, certain IDs, certain regions. Then you can do further sharding also. Let's say for a region you are getting too many requests, you can further shard it down depending on, let's say New York is very heavily crowded, shard it down more. We will discuss all of this in coming questions as well. But idea remains the same. You can shard whatever you want, because the idea is to reduce the load, right? To increase the speed. This is how you convince the interviewer, I'm going to be able to do better write speed still by having a single leader. Still. Okay. Okay, now is analytics, which I can't discuss today. There's no way analytics I can do it today, because so now, but I do want to mention. Okay, I do want to pose this question, and I hope, my hope is somebody will be able to answer this, right? Because if this gets answered, I already am kind of convinced that people are understanding, because you all said very good points, right? There were some really good points discussed. People are understanding a bunch of things, and I'm happy with it. There's another kind of test for me, that have I done a good job or not? Okay, analytics. What do we use for analytics? What kind of background system can we use?
Message queues.
Great, thank you. Already we
Yes.
have an answer.
Yeah.
Right? People understand why message queues though now. Why do we need the stream processing? It's not user who's asking for it, right? It's a background thing. Firstly, asynchronously happening. Something gets generated. Somebody is a producer. Who is the producer? Because my DB now has some data. On that basis, I need to do something. This makes sense. Like, I have created a short URL. Maybe I even have stored how many clicks there are, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. So I know I have some data. Now I have some data on which I want to do something further down the line in the background. This makes sense. It's not like I am asking for it, right? Like I as a user, I'm saying, hey, give me the read point, yes, reader will ask, but writer is not. You understand, no? What I'm saying? Reader will say, hey, give me this data if needed. If maybe you provide that API, right? Like give me this data, which kind of makes sense also. Analytics is not just for the system. Analytics is also maybe users can also use it. Some permission, like some configuration manager or somebody who's like really at the system can use it also, right? So reader for sure. Writer. So whenever the write happens in a DB, of course, I immediately want to tell the writer, hey, your job is done. But in the background, I want to do something. And I means the system, right? System wants to do something. And that's why this you see already the pattern, asynchronous operation is happening, change data capture on something, I want to do something, right? Stream processing, we're there. That's why message keeps. It already should be clicking in your head, right? Because that's why I discuss all of the crap that we did for 3 days. Okay, I cannot discuss the full analytics part of it, but that's okay. I think we can end it here. It's okay. Analytics, we can, anyways, analytics was like a push for me. And that's why I said, like, maybe if we can, we'll do analytics. So what I'll do is, without the analytics at least, I will post a good low level design. If I can't do it tonight, mostly I can do it tonight, but later on. Anyways, you don't have a mock this week, right? That's not there because there is no point, I feel. But next week, for sure, you have a mock and it'll be a new question. There are system design people who pose the same question. Other batches do it. I don't. Because for me, it's okay if you fail this mock. Okay, it's a mock. Think about it. It's a mock, fail it, okay. Learn from it. That's more important, right? Doesn't matter how many marks you get in mock. It does not matter. It does not define you. At the end of the batch, you'll be better than others. This is what I can promise. Because you'll do a new question, it'll give you the same experience as you are in an interview. That's what my hope is. As I said, like what matters in mock is be very wary of the time. That's the most important thing. Like do a question, like don't do it right now. Don't do a question yourself right now. But like after a few classes more, do a question yourself, one question, and you'll realize how time goes. I have done it, of course, multiple times. And initially, I used to be over the time always. Like I have to constantly check my time, and then I'm rushing, and then I'm doing this. So you have to really practice that. That is the most practice that you want to do. Because other things are straightforward, right? Like you know what to talk about. You have bunch of topics. You have more than 40 minutes material. You always will have more than 40 minutes material. Trust me. But just you have to finish it up in 40 minutes somehow. You have to combine it. You have to, and because right now we are not even counting the time the interview will have questions for you. That is again because the interview asks you a question, you go in a rabbit hole of 15 minutes gone. Done. Your system design goes down. So cut it short, right? Okay. Questions now. I'm done with the class. I'll just stop the recording. Give me 1 second, Yogesh.